freedom. And I'm like, what does freedom mean to me? And it's like total liberation, healthy body, healthy mind, good emotions, great relationships, feeling good in my business where it doesn't have to be girl boss, hustle all the time, but have more flow to it where I have a very masculine energy day, getting stuff done, and then maybe the next day a little more receptive and dropping inward and receiving.
If you've ever felt that you were different or you had to fit the mold, maybe you resonate with being a black sheep or an outcast, the shy person, an introvert, or maybe just overall like you're completely misunderstood, this episode's for you. And let me explain. I've already had this wonderful guest on my show, Dayna Faye, and she is all about human design. So for those of you that know what human design is, you're probably like chuckling a little bit because you get it, right? But if you haven't heard of human design, you're going to need to take a listen. I'll let her describe exactly the meanings behind things and really how all of this is relative to how we are and how we are energetically. And I did, after our podcast, I was so moved by her energy and just what she was sharing that I decided to do a one-on-one session with her. And let me tell you, if you like this stuff, it is absolutely worth it for you to invest in a session with her. And I have zero ties to anything related to benefiting me whatsoever, because you'll hear it in my voice in this interview. And I was actually getting emotional, and I didn't let myself have the full meltdown. So I was getting pretty emotional because I really felt as if human design sort of unlocked a new level for me. And for those of you that have been with me for this whole time, I fucking love you, but you know that there's been an evolution, and really a lot of the evolution of Boss Bitch Radio from being real hardcore and unrealistic for most women, let's be honest, unless you're planning on getting on stage, to a more realistic approach. And a lot of that has been softening into energy and just really understanding how I want my body to feel, how I want to feel. And this was just another wonderful piece to the puzzle of health and hotness. So I'm going to let you into the episode, but you can expect to have your mind blown a little bit. Here's some really cool things about how human design plays a role in how you can actively really live your life and like be in your life, and understanding how all of this really is tied together to helping you really wake up happy, feel good, be happy about your decisions, communicate better. I mean, so many things. The list goes on. So I'm going to let you in and enjoy.
So I was working in the health and wellness industry at the time. And of course, very, focused on my physical health and wellness, maybe what I was eating. And then a client brought to me this thing called human design. And I was like, no, I've never heard of it. I've heard a little bit about astrology, which I knew it was similar. Went home, plugged in my birth date, time, and location into this online software to pull my human design chart, and started reading about what my energy type was first, which is a manifesting generator. And right away, I just felt like I received a huge fat permission slip for everything. Okay, and granted, I was 25 or 26 at the time. So really kind of in crisis myself after college, wondering like, where is my life going and what am I doing here even?
Right.
And when I read about being a manifesting generator and the fact that like we have many interests, we pivot a lot, we're supposed to follow what excites us, we're supposed to be energized when we do things that excite us. That blew my mind, because on the flip side of that is when we're saying yes to things that aren't aligned for us, our energy is depleted. So,
right.
It was a big aha, more than any like personal development book I had been reading at the time. And I immediately just wanted to learn more. And ultimately, to explain more what human design is, it is a science of what your energy body is, how your aura acts when you are by yourself or when you are around other people. And it shows you so many things. But I think to keep the main thing is it really teaches you how to make decisions from the wisdom of your body and not from your mind. And we're actually, from a human design perspective, and just much of the spiritual community who talks about the age of Aquarius or all these prophecies of the world changing, that is what we're stepping into in 2027, the world is changing into a much more individuated world where we are now allowed to follow our own path, nobody else's. And that can be confusing because we're used to using our mind to make decisions about just about everything, the pros
Yeah.
and cons lists, the reading someone else's book, the, 5 success steps to becoming a millionaire, like
Yeah.
all those things. But as we step into 2027, all of our consciousness is raising. And for those of you listening, like just take inventory of the last 4 to 5 years. I would say maybe since the pandemic, there's been a lot of awakening of people realizing, hey, I'm not just this like human in this, for lack of a better word, meat suit,
Yeah.
clocking in 9 to 5, going home. Like I have this like buzzy energy about me, and I have this soul deep inside me that wants to sing out my special tune, my special song. And so to kind of take from Pam Gregory, who's a wonderful astrologer, your human design chart is like a sheet of music. It's up to you to be the one to play it. And so it's so fantastic because it came here in 1987, not that long ago. I really believe it's here to help usher us into this new age much quicker than we were expecting, so we can keep up with the external world. It is our internal world that is doing as much change as the external world is.
It's so fascinating how impactful our session was. So I brought you on the podcast and I knew a little bit, like had dipped my toes into it. And then I thought I went down a rabbit hole on YouTube. I mean, all of it, right? I was just like soaking it up because just the free stuff that I was finding, I was feeling so seen, I guess, for lack of better words. I'm like, this is insane. I need to have somebody on the podcast because I feel like more people need to be aware of it if they aren't. And I've heard of it for years, along with like the Enneagram stuff and so many other different kinds of like personality tests and things like that. But I didn't pay much mind to it. And I'm just like grinding, busy, doing my thing. And a YouTube video came up, and this is really how I even became interested in it. And so fast forward, after we had our podcast, I said, I have to have a session with you. You're just like such an intuitive and light person. I just felt like this was going to be a good connection, right? So for those of you listening, just bring you up to speed. So we had our session. I remember that day so distinctly because I was running in frantically from just like raggedly being all over the place and trying to do too many things as per the usual. And I took notes throughout the whole thing. And you're like, I'm going to send you a beautiful report, which is amazing, by the way. If it's like a Bible, I will pull it up and I'll be like, I need just to remind myself of some of these things. And so I filled my journal with lots of little buzzwords and things that stood out to me. But what I have found with it personally is I'm really starting to understand myself a lot better. And I'm not feeling guilty for certain things that would be perceived as normal, like for other people, right?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of given me this like permission slip that I never really needed, let's be real. And it was so fascinating to me that it was so eerily on brand with how I felt about myself deep down. And it was just, yeah, I have the chills just even saying that. For me, I know now that I'm armed with this information, I lean into it and it really helps me feel more authentic and not abandoning myself in like conversations with people or not saying things to certain family members or whatever. And I just don't apologize for it. And I don't carry that like blanket of guilt. So I just wanted to thank you because that session was like so helpful. And it has really just paved the way for not only sort of my own mindset shifts, but also where I'm feeling like I don't need permission to take my content. Right? Like talking about diet culture and like so many things that I've just really wanted to talk about. And I've just been afraid. And so I'm just blaming it on my human design.
I love that so much. And thank you so much for that reflection. I enjoyed our session so much too. I was buzzing when I left our session.
Yeah.
And I'm totally curious, like as you were talking, like, do you feel like you are tuned in more to that your sacral feel of like when something is for you? Like you said, now I'm going to do this content that maybe I wouldn't have done before.
Yes. And where I'm seeing it the most is I love learning things, right? And I can get on a topic and like really I'll have an idea for it. I want to create something around it. And what I'm finding is I'm seeing opportunities coming my way, but rather than saying yes to them all and then feeling overwhelmed because I don't have the energy or the capacity, I look through it. I look at everything right now through the lens of, is this going to take energy away from me or is it going to bring energy in? And I know that there's
Mhm.
sometimes there is a part of that where it's one and then it turns into the other, right? Like taking on more stuff to learn is what I was just propositioned with yesterday, and taking like a couple days with a thought leader in a masterclass type thing. And it wasn't the money, it had nothing to do with the money. It had to do with the fact that I knew that if I put that on my schedule right now, when I'm also trying to master a couple of these other skills, I would be completely overwhelmed and I wouldn't have the energetic capacity to like be good at all of the things. So it's helping me make better decisions in that regard, right? And there might be a time when that comes back and it'll kind of pull energy, but it'll bring me more because of the result, if that makes sense. But it's so helpful to lean into those heart centers that are the centers that aren't filled in, and
Oh,
understand when they
yes.
aren't filled in, how I'm showing up. And it's like my own little internal flagging system.
Yeah, that's so cool. Because you're a generator, right? So like
Yes.
I like as you're talking, like I'm jealous that you have the opportunity if you want to singularly focus on maybe 1 to 3 things and go deep with them and have that sustained energy to do that. But you're not able to do that if you're trying
No.
to act like a manifesting generator and saying yes to too many things, which it sounds to me like that was one aha that you had.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, for me, I feel like I do this to myself where I go into these periods of like, I shift identities, right? And it's intentional. It's like, okay, I want to be a bodybuilder. So let me put that meat suit on, right? And then I act as if, and then, I run this business and I wear all these hats. But what I was noticing is that spreading myself too thin was actually making me feel worse. And I actually just wrote a newsletter about it. And I was talking about how, I was getting up 6 days a week. The grind of the bodybuilding life is no joke. 6 days a week, doing fasted cardio, going back to the gym. I mean, I'm in the gym 2 to 3 hours, no food, like all these things, working 60 to 80 hours a week, having a team of like 9 to 10 plus people, running my podcast, like doing all this and trying to parent. I'm just out of breath.
That is so much.
It's a lot and all at once, right? And like, God forbid, I actually have a relationship in there. So there wasn't really room for that. But knowing how that, I would look up and say, like, is this what success is supposed to feel like? Like, my bank is full, like, my schedule is full, but my heart is like not feeling at ease or joyful or any of things that success is supposed to bring me.
Yeah.
And it really was just like an awakening of sorts. And I just decided to shed that identity because it was unnecessary. And so having human design is very helpful in leaning into that and knowing like it's okay because this
Yeah.
is just how I operate. And
Yeah.
so I'm like tenfold happier doing a fraction of what I was and having as less responsibilities. It's just way worth it, way more worth it to me for mental peace.
Yeah, it's so much healthier. And I've been really contemplating lately, like, what is it that I like to share about human design? And for
Mm-hmm.
me, what's always been really important on my journey is freedom. And I'm like, what does freedom mean to me? And it's like total liberation, healthy body, healthy mind, good emotions, great relationships, feeling good in my business where it doesn't have to be girl boss, hustle, hustle all the time, but have more flow to it where I have a very masculine energy day getting stuff done. And then maybe the next day, a little more receptive and dropping inward and receiving. And I really think that's what learning your human design does is it really liberates you from so many things. Like when you were talking, I was thinking, yeah, now you don't have to play the comparison game because that's a human condition we all do, which is like, oh, that person over there is doing bodybuilding and this and all this stuff. And like, why can't I do that? What's wrong with me? And when you take two human design charts and put them next to each other, they are always incredibly different. And you get to kind of just stay in your lane now and be like, yep, I get to keep my blinders on. I get to keep up with this busy world that's happening because I'm able to say no more often to the things that are just not aligned for me.
Do you think it's hard for people to shed that? Because there is, like I said, a piece of that is like an identity, right? Because of to what you're saying. I did that when in actually I was just telling my daughter about this like maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. I was like, I'd open up my Instagram feed and all the people that I'm following are like when I was in my hardcore, it's boss bitch radio for a reason. And like it's
Yeah.
evolving into be a boss bitch of your life. And like that doesn't mean like hustle, right? Or like grind. But I went and I unfollowed probably 30 or 40 accounts and I muted some people who I love dearly that are still friends and whatnot. But I'm just like, not interested in seeing like their 6-pack selfies and like, oh my gosh, complaining about how rough prep is. I'm like, it's a fucking choice. No offense, but I got to just say that. And so I'm like, this doesn't feel aligned for me. This is not helping my mental real estate in any way in a positive manner. So yeah, I just said it.
Yeah, no, you go, girl. From an energetic perspective, like we are becoming more porous where we're taking on the energy of other things. And that even means in the realm of like when you pull up your Instagram and what you're looking at, we are all giving off frequencies and we are all connected that way. So even though we can't see it happening, yeah, it would be smart to tailor what is your echo chamber that you actually want to look at and compare yourself to. And to answer your question about like, is that hard to give up? Yes. Like I've been trying to shed this, like, I mean, the whole concept of human design is that it's helping us decondition. And the majority of our conditioning happens before 7 years old. I grew up in a farm family, work hard, play hard, be tough, be rough, all that type of stuff. And that's just in me. It's always going to be in me. It's going to take a lifetime for me to soften and for me to learn how to relax once in a while. And it is easier for me to be more boss, bitch, hustle, all that stuff. It's a more familiar costume and mask that I wear. And it's great to pull out of the closet and put on once in a while. But like us, especially as women, I think we're such great leaders of energy and intuition. And the earth is really calling us to step into that more again. In order to step into that more, you really do need to start quieting the outside noise and really tuning into yourself in order to connect to, I mean, for example, for generators and MGs, in order to connect to your sacral motor of, well, what does that even feel like? What does excitement for something feel like? Or what does because sometimes when I know something's not right for me, my mind thinks it's amazing. Like when you get an invite to something, I just want to say, yes, someone invited me. That's so nice.
Right.
The feeling in my sacral motor is very subtle. It's just this little tightening, like a little bit of a like, ooh, I don't know if that's right. And like my mind's conditioning is way louder and overrides that all the time. On top of that, I have the emotional wave as well, the solar plexus, which is louder as well. So like you said, understanding your human design is something that you pull out and you tap in and you focus on maybe one area for a while and you contemplate it and live it out. And then maybe you're good for a while and then something trips you up where you go, hold on, let me check out my open centers again. Where is it easy for me to get kind of stuck or take on other people's energy? And then you get an aha about another thing. And that's what's so fun about it. It really is this map of your true essence that just you get to keep referring to time and time again.
It really is. And I think one thing that I find works well with referencing, I guess, human design as I kind of move through life is the practice of journaling and meditation as well, because I feel as if those two, and listen, I'm a C student. Okay. So this is not happening 7 days a week. It's like 3, maybe 1 week it's twice. Right. But I know that it's because the times in between, I feel really good. And I'm just like, okay, I'm not bumping up against any resistance, but I also don't want to lose the practice of it. And I don't want to lose just capturing other, sometimes random memories. So with those two tools, in addition to human design, I'm finding that anytime I'm posed with something that comes up, it's almost causing me to be so much more mindful because I know that the space between saying yes to something I'm probably going to regret later and taking just like a second to actually think it through is going to end me in such a better result. So it's been meditation's been huge for that, but also journaling because you have to stop and kind of like process thoughts. And so now it's like stopping, processing thoughts, and then filtering it through human design.
Wow. I love that. That is so awesome. Your mindfulness practice to
Yeah.
allow whatever's meant to drop in, maybe in those unexpected moments when you're like driving or taking a shower or something, because you kind of already like flexed that muscle for it.
Yeah, yeah. And so when I was thinking about all this before the interview, I was thinking about, do you have any advice or suggestions, I guess, for living your life and kind of designing it around human design, if that makes sense? Like
Mm,
once you're armed with that knowledge, like what's like the full drink of water of like, this is just kind of how you design your life, like
great question.
relationships, work, all those things.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man. I mean, step one, no matter what your human design is, no matter what energy type you are, it's actually taking inventory of where you at right now. Like how
I love that.
conditioned, am I on the mindfulness scale? Like, am I ever an observer of what's going on during my day, or am I in autopilot of just like, the influence of the rest of the world on me? So first taking inventory of where you're at, because human design shows you where your decision making style comes from in your body. But if you're not embodied, which is something you're used to, right? You've been doing bodybuilding and like you've been in this world for so long. But the average person who's not in this world, like they don't have that feeling of being embodied as much. So like you did, journaling, meditation, going for a walk without something in your ears and just like being aware of nature, having a little time with your tea in the morning and being mindful about that. Anything that's going to bring you into your body so you can start to feel it. Then look to your human design, and the easiest place to start, because there's so much free information out there, is really your energy type, because your energy type gives you a strategy that comes with it. And that's like the first place to start. It tells you what your aura style is, like kind of what you're here to do for yourself and to help the rest of the world. And then the strategy that comes with it to put this into practice. So the founder of Human Design said that it takes 7 years once you start your human design journey to like fully step into living your human design. And interestingly, it's like, I'm going to butcher this probably, but like it takes 7 years for your cells to turn over in your body too. So I always joke that like I'm still in my 7 years, because did I really start right away, or did I intellectualize my human design for like the first 3 years? Like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was totally up in my head. Like, this is cool. I'm this, because it's fun to like dive into the archetypes and be like, I'm an MG and, here's my permission slip and all that. But then to really sit back and be like, okay, wait, so my strategy is to have enough availability in my life so that the universe can actually send me things, so that I can actually respond to things and follow that, rather than follow like this 5 year plan that, I put into place in college. Like, that's terrifying. Or for
Mhm.
projectors, their strategy is to be recognized and wait for the invitation. And there are people who see and know things so deeply. So it doesn't come easy to them to be like, wait, I have to trust. I have to trust that someone's going to invite me in and that's going to be the right opportunity. So, like, it's a big human design is a big ask in just the first layer, which is your energy type. Like, just starting with that is huge, is starting to play with your strategy. Then from there, you can go a few ways. There's so many layers. You could next go to your authority, but actually, I'm creating something called the roadmap right now. And I went to your profile next because I decided your strategy and your authority is so serious in human design. And that's what you need to put into practice. Your
Hmm.
profile is fun. Your
Hmm.
profile is like your personality. And if you were the performer on the stage, it's like the dress you have on and the mask and like how you shine out the rest of your chart. So there's not as much like you can't mess up your profile. It just is you. So it's fun to learn about it. And then from there, I would go into your authority, which is your decision making style, your intuition, like where in your body are you receiving your intuitive hits from?
I love that.
Yeah.
I found what was helpful is with your report, I sat for like a few days after a few journaling sessions, I should say, and just pulled it up and started journaling on the different sections and how I felt it like related to me. So I could kind of connect it with experiences and like just how I view myself as a person in the moving through the world, and really just like affirming. I haven't gone through the whole thing, but just kind of affirming myself through the process and how I see like I fall short when I'm being not myself, right? When I'm the not self, and noticing where it really shows up, right? And it's usually in my relationships, in with like my children, and just like having that piece of it was so helpful. Are you finding that you really gravitate towards your own sort of reflections through that lens? I mean, it'd be hard not to, I imagine.
Yeah, yeah. I actually have. So there's three types of energy in your human design chart as well, which this is more nuanced. I don't even think we got into it when we
Okay.
chatted. There's individual energy, so energy that's just meant for you, collective energy. So when you share that energy, you're sharing it with the whole collective. And then tribal, which is more like I'm going to take care of my family, my friends, my tribe. My chart is unique. I have all individual energy except one collective. So I've had this journey of like, I almost have to create things for myself to create them for other people. And I've always wanted, when I learned human design with my teacher, she would laugh because she'd be like, okay, do you want to talk about, the G center with someone or like about yourself? I'm like, let's talk about myself, because that's how I learned. That's my individual energy. And in human design, they say that people with individual energy, by just being 100% authentically themselves and in it for themselves, that's how they influence and help other people. So that's even really cool. Another aspect of that is like the profile lines. If your profile starts with a number that is lower than the second number, you are really on a lifetime journey in this lifetime for yourself. You are here to overcome, fear of rejection or whatever that is. And that can sometimes look like a selfish journey that you're like choosing yourself first or you're in your own little world. I think we have the same profile, right?
Think so. I don't have it in front of me right now. I just have my journal,
I
but
think you're
yeah.
a two. Well, because no, you're a five. We both have a two and you have a five in your profile, which the two line is more this hermit line, wants some alone time to be creative, wants to go inward, things like that. So yeah, I'm a big processor through contemplation of my own life. I also have the gate of mystery in my chart like 4 times, which is the energy of wanting to understand how this world works and the mystery of the world, but knowing that like we just can't have all our questions answered. So I sit in that kind of like meditative, contemplative state of a looping thought or question, which is actually correct for me according to human design. A therapist would maybe say, why, that's not correct. So that's what's so cool about this system is like, you can really see that. But that being said, there's plenty of people who their chart will show that they're actually here to really be in relationship with others as they navigate life. And those relationships will be where they learn their lessons and they evolve and grow. So everyone's different.
Yeah. Have you ever done any tarot cards or anything? Because I feel like that energy from you, and it's just funny to me. I don't know. Maybe because we're talking about some of these really conceptual like type things, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks. Maybe that was a sign. I've been dabbling for like a year, but so on and off. Like I have a cute little tarot book and I usually just do
Mm,
a monthly poll. So maybe
that's
it's in
fun.
my future. We'll see.
That's fun. I have a couple decks because I got into it years ago, and usually I pulled this morning, and one of my cards is playfulness is one of
Mm.
them. And I was just like laugh, when I get certain cards because it just makes sense for the day. I make it make sense, and then it just gives it more meaning. And then it brings, I don't know, it's kind of fun.
Well, and that's the trick of pulling cards. It's not necessarily what it says, and this is a great way to practice with your intuition. It's like after you pull it, what is your intuitive hit that card brings out, which sounds
Mhm.
like that's what you had. Like,
Yeah.
and it's what your intuition makes sense of it as which is the message from the universe being like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, that's how that works. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day as I was thinking about this interview, and I thought, I'm going to ask her that because I feel like the two would go hand in hand so magnificently, like human design and just sort of what in that realm paired
Yeah.
with some readings.
Well, and that's what's so cool about this world is that, human design is made up of astrology, the Chinese I Ching, the chakra system, the Kabbalah tree of life. And then you've got actually, I don't know if you've ever heard of gene keys, which is
No.
another, oh man, I'm telling you.
Is this going to send me on a spiral, Dana?
This is going to set you on a spiral. And this is why I sent Diane a little sneak peek of my roadmap that I'm creating, because I'm very passionate about the Gene Keys too. Richard Rudd, who created it, he first was a teacher of human design. And then he went on and brought through his own system, which the Gene Keys is based off the Chinese I Ching and the 64 gates of human design as well.
Oh.
And it's more, to me, it's the feminine aspect of this very like masculine, teachy system of human design. Each gate, so gift, has 3 different frequencies to it. You've got the shadow level of that you can live at, and then the gift, and then the city, which is the most like enlightened state. And of course, all of these gates, have something like represent your life or the way you evolve or your relationships, things like that. So, oh my gosh. I mean, it's all connected. Tarot and astrology are connected. It's so fun.
It's funny. And I think because when I would go back and I would read from our session together, I was like, how does she know this about me? And you're sharing what my human design was. And it was just like so captivating. I was just like, it felt eerily just intuitive, but you were really just sharing what my results were, really. And I think it's the way that you present it too. But I was thinking, this has been so much better than like therapy sessions. I mean, I have an intuitive that I see usually once every year, every other year, whenever I'm in town, and she's the sweetest thing. She has like a whole room set up. People fly her out for readings and things. And I always glean stuff there, but I thought this was even so much more helpful for me than that for future, right? And like just understanding how to navigate things. So it's great.
Well, and I love intuitives too. I love going to them, but this really, like an intuitive gives you like some bits and pieces of what they can read from your energy, right? But human design gives you like the keys. It gives you the keys to just like turn on the ignition and go.
Yeah. So you said it's the keys to the gate, or what is this new thing you're?
Oh, Gene Keys.
Gene Keys.
Yep, it's called the Gene Keys. I'll send you a link. It's so good. And it's more, it's the frequency as you start to get more and more into realizing that like, okay, I can live as like just a human with like me being the victim of everything that I come across in one day, or I can live actually as the energy body. Like think of yourself more as your aura floating through space more than just your physical body. And you start to realize just how influenced you are in a day and just how much you influence other people. And Gene Keys gives you more of that inside look of the frequency. So I'll just give you an example that's very pertinent to everybody. In 2027 and beyond, Gene Key 55 is what we're kind of mutating through in our solar plexus area. So we're going from operating from our mind to actually operating really from our emotional center. And the shadow frequency of that is victimization, which, I mean, if you kind of look at the world stage right now, we all collectively have been a victim of something, and we hold that frequency of like, that's not fair, this isn't systemically right, and that person did, and I had to push through this and they had to do that, and everyone's acting out the frequency of victimhood. And it's important to note, even though it's called the shadow, you don't have to put like a bad connotation to it. It just is, right? You just live at 3 different frequency levels, either the shadow, the gift, or the city. Well, the gift is freedom. And that's you owning the fact that you're not a victim, that we live on a planet of free will, that many believe, and I myself believe, as a soul, I chose the body that I wanted to be born into, the situations and experiences that I went through to help myself grow and evolve according to maybe the past lives that I lived through. And that I came here for a purpose, and that purpose is to express my core essence. So I can express all of my gates in human design or Gene Keys on the shadow level, or I can choose to really contemplate what would it feel like to be more on the gift level. So this 55 to be more at the frequency of freedom, or my 59, which is my purpose in this life. The shadow level is superficiality and the gift level is intimacy. Those are like the exact opposite. It's wild because when you're a child, you really live out those shadow frequencies. And then that's what happens. Your soul is evolving. And then you start to step into being like, okay, well, my conditioning was that we didn't really talk about our feelings when we were kids, or that we didn't hug. We didn't, we weren't vulnerable. Nobody could be vulnerable. And my purpose is to be intimate, like out of these 64 options, my soul chose to be really intimate with people. Oh my God. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
So
where the work is, though.
that's where the work is.
Mhm.
And it's so fun to do the work and it can change your life. Like I'm sure you have realized.
Yeah.
But I think the important thing to know is that we're all so much more powerful than we give ourselves credit to. And like we can feel the frequency of fear, right? We can feel the frequency of these lower vibrations that are kind of setting us out. And it's just like trying to drink a cup of coffee to feel better when you had a bad night of sleep. Like go into meditation, reset yourself, tune in, journal like you have to change that frequency to something like hope or courage or, willingness and love and peace and joy. Because right now, I think the biggest thing anyone can do is to take care of themselves and their insides. And a huge step of doing that is getting to know yourself. So once you understand yourself through human design or these other tools or even intuitive sessions, then you can really feel you have more autonomy to be like, no, I can really feel what my truth is in this moment. And I don't have to let that scary thing, like maybe the propaganda, whatever's happening in the world, knock me off my course. Like I'm keeping those blinders on and I'm going to keep on trucking.
Yeah. No, I think it's great. Now, when I hear you saying all that, one of the things that comes up for me is resistance, right? And not, I see it in myself, and I have my own little demons I'm fighting through resistance, knowing full well exactly what you're saying is like, this is the work, right? This is the lesson. Like, this is why I'm here. What do you offer to people to consider about resistance? Anything off the top of your head when there's that knowing of like, I know what I need to do, and the fear is just so high.
Yeah, I really recommend not to pressure yourself and just bring curiosity to it because awareness is the first step. So just being like, oh, I have some resistance here. And even if you feel like that day that you have resistance, you're going to do the pattern you've always done. Let's say it's emotional eating. That's a huge one that I've always, had a challenge with. Okay, like it's just bringing the awareness. I have the resistance. I'm not ready yet to make that big change. So I'm not going to shame myself that because you can do it, you're capable, right? I'm going to do the same pattern, but hey, like universe or whatever, like I'm aware of it. And then the next step is to like, be aware of it again and again until one day on a physical, energetic level, you're like, I'm done with this. I'm so done with this. Like, it's not even, first, it was just an idea. Now I'm like done doing this pattern the way I've always done it.
And that's really the best way to explain it. You said it wonderfully, because it's really the act of taking that time to just be very aware of how often it comes up. And one thing that I know for me, I've spent a lot of time on like personal development and really trying to understand myself and how the world works and interacting with other people just to make things better, right? Just to be a better human overall. But that resistance, it gets heavy and it shows up as so many things. Procrastination is a huge one. I don't know. That comes up for me. I don't know if you resonate with that, but it does.
Yeah. So what I'd recommend for you is like, okay, I'm aware of the resistance in this moment. I want to procrastinate. Can I give my sacral a few things to respond to? Because you know that you're always responding. So like you're coming up against it, give yourself things to respond to. The other recommendation for anybody is to go inward. Where is that resistance? Are you feeling it in your chest? Are you feeling it in your belly? Are you feeling it in your throat, like a tightness? Because it's energy. And so if you can, so even any emotion that comes up that kind of stops you in your tracks, it's like instead of running away from it, if you go in and towards it, it usually dissipates way quicker than if you kind of, hold yourself and go, okay, I'm frozen here because here I am again.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And I mean, I've found that the one baby step in that direction is usually enough momentum to kind of to keep the dominoes tipping. So maybe that's what you meant in response to, or your reply was listening to the sacral hits of like, what can I answer? Right.
Yeah. Like, what can you do right now that would be like, yeah, I really like that. And there's nothing wrong with just saying, you know what? I can't even feel that right now. I'm just going to try this, like throwing spaghetti at the wall, because I know I just need to go do it in order to get past that resistance. And then you can take inventory afterwards. Like, was that aligned for me?
Yeah, yeah. No, that's great. I love it. Such good stuff. Such good
Yeah.
stuff. Now, I have loved every piece of this journey, and I know there's other people that would love to work with you too. Is there anything else before we kind of wrap up, though, that you've maybe wanted to share today? I know you have some fun new things coming up too that you're doing.
Yeah, I just lately just keep really hearing the message in my meditations that we really need to tune in order to tune up. And it sounds so cheesy, but I just keep thinking about,
Mm-hmm.
we're all getting these tune ups. Like we get our hair done, we get our, we do all the things like, but everyone listening to your podcast, they're growing and evolving. That's the type of personality they are. And in order
Yeah.
to tune up your life, you need to tune in. And that is probably the hardest conditioning that we have in this world is like we just have so much coming at us from left, right, center that we forget to go inward and have that practice with ourselves. And your human design can really help you understand like what would be the best tune-up routine for you and how can you work with that. So yes, I have a lot of exciting things coming up. You can book any session on my website, daynafaye.com. I've got human design readings that we did together. That was 90 minutes on Zoom. We go through everything that's going on in your life, apply your human design chart to that, and then I leave you with a report as well. So you can dive in deep like you did.
So lovely.
Yeah. And then you can come back for 1 hour coaching as well. And I also do intuitive sessions called soul alignment sessions. So that's actually where I tune in to your energy field, your guides, your higher self. You bring some questions that you're working on and we look into it. I have your human design chart on the side to kind of tie it all in and empower you with the information that we receive. And that's definitely more of a tune-up session. And then a fun guide will be coming soon called the Roadmap. And
love that.
yeah, I'll hopefully guide you guys to really, again, give you the keys to the engine of your own life because that's what you. Thank you, froze.
Oh, am I there? I got.
Oh, I can hear you. You're just froze.
But anyhow, we'll wrap up here. Thankfully, we got all the good stuff in, but we'll wrap up here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on. This was such a joy. Okay, we had some technical difficulties. My computer had an absolute meltdown at the end. So if you made it this far, I appreciate you. But how was that? Man, I really enjoyed that interview. Dayna is such an amazing spirit. We'll have this over on YouTube. You get to see us kind of, our inflictions and just see what a radiant human she is. And I think taking that next step in human design can be scary for some people because they're like, what is this? Is this astrology? Is this some hokey pokey bullshit? Like, what is this? But when I tell you, when she sat with me and went over my, I don't think it's like 34-page report, it was like a book report on me. That's what it felt like. And it felt like she was the narrator of the story that I've already been living, but I feel like I'm the only one that sees, if that makes sense. So she was able to really articulate it and it felt so organic and intuitive. And it wasn't done in a way that was where, when you go and you see these people and they're so against doing like going in and having their energy read or doing like a tarot card reading. And I just think that stuff is fun and interesting. And I don't like live and die by it, but I use it as guidance in some way, shape, or form if it's going to lend to be positive in my life. And just sitting with Dayna, that experience was so wonderful. And she just brought it all full circle. And this is the most aligned I have ever felt with my energy, with my workouts, with how I show up. And I just want that for all of you guys. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Make sure to check out the links if you're curious about human design. She has an ability, you could go on her site and plug in all of your information and find out what your human design is, and it's free. She has a nice little thing there where it instantly tells you. You do need to know, I believe it's your date of birth and the time you were born and the place you were born. And if you know those things and you plug that in, it'll tell you what your human design is, and have fun. Because it is so incredibly amazing to feel like you are seen when you understand how your energy works and why you are the way you are. So, all right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one.